now that you've gotten everything else in place, you need to decide how far do you want to filter the water after the tank. So the first step to say is what kind of tank you used. If you used a pressurized buffer tank, odds are you're going to get any contamination into the tank. If you had a JoJo tank in place and, say for example, added rainwater harvesting, odds are you're going to get quite a bit of little particles and dust coming into the tank. So before the pump afterwards, you'd want to add a washable disc filter just to protect your pump and to extend the lifespan of any filters you'd have after that. Our most popular setup for after tanks would be big blue systems. Now, what you would typically do is either put a double or a triple stage system in place. If it was a double stage, what you would look at is a 1 micron particle filter followed by a 0.2 micron filter, which would give you a basic barrier for bacteria, and the 1 micron would catch any visible particles left in the water. And this will give you sort of a clean enough water to use for most household applications, such as the toilets, the baths, the showers, doing washing with it. But it's not really a safe water in terms of bacteria yet. And what you very often find is there might be some smells or taste of the water, especially for showering, and that if you have any smells in the water, rather go for a triple stage system. And what we would then typically recommend is a 1 micron. Then ideally with a KDF you can use carbon as well, which would then remove the smells. The KDF is just much more resistant to bacteria, and then again the 0.2 micron filter. And as I said, this is not really safe enough to use for drinking yet, because you've got the 0.2 micron in place, but that is only about a 95% barrier for bacteria, and the big problem is you still run quite a big risk of actually getting sick. So what you would do after a system like this is add either ultrafiltration or UV, basically performing similar function just in different ways. The UV kills bacteria via UV radiation, and thus making the water safe. It doesn't actually remove anything. The ultrafiltration membrane is a physical barrier system to physically remove any of the bacteria. For the sizing, have a read in the write-up. It gets a little bit complicated, and it's probably a good idea to take some notes and just get an idea of how much of what do you need for your specific situation. But then basically, what are these stands? We've added barrier for bacteria. Advantages of the UV is you don't get any pressure drop through it. Disadvantages, you need power, and you need to keep an eye on your hour counter to see when you need to replace that bulb, otherwise it gets inefficient and it doesn't kill bacteria anymore. Ultrafiltration is a great barrier for bacteria, but you do get a bit of a pressure drop over it, and you normally need to add quite a few of the membranes for a typical house's water supply. Big advantage, don't need electricity, and you're physically removing the bacteria, and they're flushable, so you can just clean the cartridges. They do tend to have quite a long lifespan. Yes, and then this should give you a safe water if you add either UV or ultrafiltration after the stand. What it might not do is it might not give you a great tasting water yet. So if you've gotten up to this point and say, well, I still have a high mineral content, or I still don't like the taste of my water, then probably look at a under-counter reverse osmosis or nanofiltration just for your cooking and drinking water. These processes work great and they change the mineral content, but they're a little expensive, so it's not really practical to implement something like that on a whole house scale. If you are looking for other solutions, feel free to contact us. We're more than happy to design a custom solution just for your needs, but this guide should have been a good indication of what are the options, and everything should have been covered for 99% of cases.